Hello guys, I'm Marcelo and I'm sharing this video because I'd like to share a conversation that I had with Aleksandra. I asked her for a help to become a B2 level because that's the part that all students need to think a strategy to achieve this target. I mean, when I started my English journey, I was A1 and A2, and when I become a B1, I was living a part of the English journey that is the intermediate level, intermediate English. That's the moment that is important to think what is the strategy to do, or what is the strategy to have to achieve this B2 level. If you want to learn, if you want to learn English to work abroad or to have meetings, to participate in meetings with your colleagues and bosses, and most importantly, if you want to express your ideas deeply, your thoughts deeply, it's important to become a B2 level. And that's why I'd like to share this video with you. Please pay attention. Write your comments if you have some question, because that's important. I love to do that. I love to have this communication to other students. So it's really important to me, and I hope it's important for you. In this case, watch this video, watch the methods that Aleksandra will share with us in this video. Okay, enjoy it.
Okay, well, let me introduce myself for those of your audience, for those of your viewers who don't know me. My name is Aleksandra. I go by Aleksandra ESL on YouTube, and I teach English as a second language to the students of other languages. And I'm a TESOL certified. I received my certification in 2023 in Vancouver, British Columbia, but I've been teaching English for more than 15 years using different methods, the communicative method, direct method, and other methods. And I blend them together, and the students' results is the most important thing to me. So there we have it.
That's wonderful, Alexandra. Welcome.
Last time I remember when we got together, you told me that the biggest problem for the learners, especially those who are at a B1, B2 level, is they can speak, right? They can use their English, they can communicate their ideas, but somehow when they speak with native speakers, sometimes they might not hear the native speakers when they speak, fluently, or when they speak too fast. And today we're going to break down those patterns or the reasons why the students don't understand native speakers when they speak too fast, and how to help them understand them better, as well as to sound fluently and to sound more like a native speaker. So that's basically what I would like to talk about today. So something that is very important that happens to so many students nowadays that who are at a B1, B2 level.
Perfect, perfect. Actually, I have been trying to improve my English. Like I mentioned before, I'm gonna try to use some different words. Like I'm stuck. I'm stuck in B1 level, right? That's correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Good. Yeah, I'm stuck in B1 level, and I have been trying to improve my English, my grammar, the structures that I need to use to have a more fluency in my speaking, and of course to talk to others, which to other people, right, with more confidence. That's important, and of course, learning new words. That's what I have been trying to do and improve my vocabulary. And with that, like you mentioned, about to have confidence, right? To talk and to become a B2 level strong. I have been trying to work my listening as well, because it's important to understand. And of course, when I talk to others and I try to understand them, um, it's hard because I'm not actually comfortable, like I'm comfortable with you in that moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's normal
Mm-hmm.
to be uncomfortable with the others, and it
Mm-hmm.
reduces my English, right? to produce or to understand, because when I'm nervous, it's not the
Mm-hmm.
same, right? It's not the
Mm-hmm.
same. But you, I'd like to talk to you about that, right? You bring this content and I'd like to hear it from you to talk more about that and to know how to improve that. That's important, right?
Thank you for mentioning those points. By the way, I wanted to say that probably even at this stage that you have described, the problem is usually maybe not even grammar or vocabulary. It's often a mismatch between the, how the student learned English and how English actually works in real life, like what you actually hear from native speakers. Because usually when you read, and I know that you read a lot, you work a lot with a lot of materials online, so you might read and you might understand. But when you hear native speakers, especially when they speak with different accents, someone might have a British English accent and another person might sound like an American and Australian and so on and so forth. So for example, like many students at this level, they can already express themselves quite well, like you do. You can express yourself quite well, and you can speak, you can share your opinions, you can tell stories, and you can communicate your ideas clearly, right? So the problem is not always expression. The problem is often decoding. And you might ask me, what do you think? I would like to ask you at this point, what does it mean, decoding?
Yeah, decoding, I think it's to understand correctly what the people are saying, right? So if I'm hearing it, probably I need to understand, and to understand this, it's necessary to decode it. My brain will decode the message, I think, right?
Perfect, perfect. Yeah. So when we say decoding, right? Um, we can hear real spoken English and we are able to quickly break it down into meaningful parts in real time. So, in other words, we just may know the words on paper, right? But with a native speaker, when they pronounce those words or when they say them naturally, sometimes we cannot always, catch them fast enough. And so that's not only a listening problem, that's called like a listening plus processing under pressure. Because when we are under pressure, we tend to make mistakes, and a lot of students learn what I call clean English, when their teachers would clearly pronounce the words, when they slower their speech. And I'm not saying that this is wrong. I'm not saying, okay, this is right at a certain stage, okay, to use structured sentences and to slow your speech and all of that. But like real life is different. In real life, we have some background noise, we have traffic, and sometimes we might not hear the person. And that is something that I also wanted to mention. That is especially in work situations, right? That you have already shared with me. So people use connected speech. And I might want to ask you another question. What do you think connected speech means?
Well, I think connect speech is to connect two words, right? Two words together,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and maybe talking about in terms of pronunciation, we think that um, this word, two words, right, is almost one word because they connect,
Mm-hmm.
right? They are connecting, right? I
Yeah.
think, and this is important because when we are talking, actually, in my case, I had this experience before. When you are talking to a teacher, right, there pause, some
Yes.
pause, right, and it's more
Mm-hmm.
slowly. But when you are talking to native speakers, or when, for example, when you are traveling or when you are working, it's totally different because the pressure, the people, right, they are running, so it's totally different. And I think that's it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, 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 definitely. Yes. Connected speech is definitely when words do not sound separately from each other or from one another, right? They look like they flow together, they connect, they reduce, they change. For example, instead of saying I want to, you might hear native speakers say wanna, like I want to go. And you might be like, okay, well, at your level, of course, you understand what that means. But I tend to work with different students at a different level. And so at some point, they might not even hear, what a wanna means. They might say like, what? Like wanna? And then they see what is written there and they say, oh, okay, it's want to. The same as with, going to. Going to becomes gonna.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go, I'm going to go, I'm gonna go. And so that's connected speech, right? Or did you becomes did you? Did you
Mhm.
see me? Yeah, did you see that movie? Did you see that? Did you? Instead of did you or did you? So that's important. Or let me help you. They would say, let me help you. Let me help you, you know.
Okay.
So also we have such a thing as reduction. When the different sounds or words, become weaker, shorter, or even less clear, and in natural speech, I mean, like, native speakers use that all the time. Like instead of, for example, like, a cup of tea, you might hear a cup of tea, a cup of
Cup of
tea,
tea. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So that's reduction, by the way. Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah, have you. Wow, that's really good.